Have you ever said yes when every fiber of your being screamed no? Picture the moment, the invitation you dreaded, the task you knew would overwhelm you, the silence you maintained when your heart ached to speak your truth. You agreed, you complied, you went along, and afterward, you felt it. A weight, heavy and unrelenting. Not just the burden of the obligation itself, but something deeper, more insidious, the quiet erosion of your self-respect, the subtle betrayal of your own soul. This isn't just about a crowded calendar or social pressures. It's about something sacred, your autonomy, your integrity, the very essence of who you are. Every time you say yes to what doesn't align with your values, you're implicitly saying no to what could, no to rest, no to joy, no to the pursuits that ignite your spirit, no to the life you're meant to live. Each misaligned yes is a small fracture in the foundation of your inner world, pulling you further from the person you aspire to be. We live in a world that glorifies busyness, that equates worth with productivity and self-sacrifice with virtue. From a young age, we're taught to stretch ourselves thin, to please others, to avoid rocking the boat. Say yes to the boss, yes to the friend, yes to the family member, yes to the endless demands of a culture that measures value by output. But what if this narrative is flawed? What if the truest act of courage lies not in enduring every obligation, but in the quiet, resolute power of refusal? What if saying no is not just a path to sanity, but to strength, wisdom, and freedom? The ancient Stoics understood this principle with profound clarity. They knew that a life of purpose requires boundaries, that true freedom comes not from doing everything, but from choosing deliberately. To live by your logos, your reasoned choice, is to live with intention, to carve out a life that reflects your highest self. Without boundaries, you risk becoming a puppet to external demands, swayed by guilt, fear, or the need for approval. The Stoics didn't just preach this, they lived it, practicing restraint and clarity in a world as chaotic as ours. Imagine standing in a moment of pressure, a room full of voices, colleagues, friends, family, urging you to comply, to smile, to agree. The air is thick with expectation, the weight of their gazes pressing down on you. Yet there you stand, rooted in stillness, your heart steady. You pause, breathe, and say, "No, this is not for me." Not with anger or defiance, but with calm conviction. Imagine the peace that follows, not the fleeting relief of pleasing others, but the profound tranquility of honoring your truth. This is the hidden power we're exploring today, the power of saying no. The cost of misplaced agreement is steep. Every yes you offer out of habit, guilt, or fear comes with a price. It's not just the time you lose or the energy you expend, it's the gradual diminishment of your sense of self. Each time you agree to something that doesn't resonate with your purpose, you chip away at your inner compass. You drift further from your values, your goals, your truth. I once agreed to lead a community project that seemed noble. It was for a good cause, and the people involved were kind and enthusiastic. But deep down, I knew it wasn't for me. The project demanded hours I didn't have, skills I wasn't passionate about using, and a level of emotional investment I couldn't sustain. Yet I said yes, out of guilt, out of a fear of letting others down, out of a vague sense that saying no would make me seem selfish. For months, I poured myself into it, growing more exhausted, more resentful, more disconnected from my own priorities. When it finally ended, I wasn't proud. I was depleted, and worse, I felt I'd betrayed myself. This is the subtle violence of saying yes when you mean no. It's not just about the task itself, it's about what you sacrifice in the process. You sacrifice time you could have spent on what truly matters, your health, your relationships, your dreams. You sacrifice clarity, trading it for the fog of obligation, and perhaps most painfully, you sacrifice self-respect, because deep down, you know you've acted against your own wisdom. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. We waste it on commitments we never truly chose, on relationships that drain us, on pursuits that clash with our principles. Each yes to the wrong thing is a theft of time, of energy, of the life you could be living. And life, as the Stoics remind us, is not infinite. Every moment you spend on what doesn't serve you is a moment you'll never reclaim. Why is it so hard to say no? The answer lies partly in the culture we inhabit. We live in an era that fetishizes productivity, that celebrates the hustle, that equates worth with how much you can juggle. Social media amplifies this, showcasing lives that seem impossibly full: careers, side hustles, social engagements, self-improvement routines. The message is clear. To be valuable, you must be busy. To be worthy, you must say yes to everything. This cultural narrative is reinforced by psychological conditioning. From childhood, we're taught to seek approval, to avoid conflict, to make ourselves agreeable. Saying no feels like a violation of these unspoken rules. It risks disappointment, judgment, or rejection. So we comply, even when it costs us dearly. We say yes to the extra shift, the family gathering, the favor we can't afford to give. We do it to be liked, to be respected, to avoid the discomfort of standing apart. There's a deeper layer to this trap. Many of us confuse self-sacrifice with virtue. We believe that putting others' needs above our own is noble, that saying yes to every request is a mark of generosity. Yet this belief often leads to burnout, resentment, and a life that feels like it belongs to everyone but us. The Stoics would argue that true virtue lies not in self-sacrifice, but in self-mastery, in choosing what aligns with your purpose and letting go of what doesn't. The Stoics offer a powerful antidote to this cultural malaise. They understood that life is short and clarity is rare. To live well, they argued, you must live deliberately, making choices that reflect your highest values. This requires not just action, but restraint, the ability to say no to what pulls you off course. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." To this we might add, if it does not serve your purpose, do not agree to it. Marcus didn't waste his life on trivialities. Despite ruling an empire, he prioritized reflection, self-discipline, and alignment with his principles. He understood that every choice, every yes or no, shapes the person you become. Seneca, too, emphasized the importance of focus. In his essay, On the Shortness of Life, he lamented how people squander their days on distractions and obligations, leaving little time for what truly matters. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, he wrote, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Saying no is an act of guarding your time, of treating it as the precious resource it is. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-philosopher, offered another perspective. In his discourses, he taught that we are not disturbed by events themselves, but by our judgments about them. The same applies to obligations. The meeting, the favor, the commitment, they are not inherently oppressive. It's our internal narrative. I must do this to be liked, to prove my worth, to avoid conflict that binds us. By reframing our judgments, we can free ourselves from the compulsion to say yes. We can choose instead to act from reason, from alignment, from truth. The Stoics didn't just theorize about boundaries, they lived them. Seneca practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on the floor or fasting to remind himself that he didn't need luxury to be whole. Marcus Aurelius faced constant demands as emperor, yet he carved out time for reflection, refusing to let external pressures dictate his inner life. Epictetus, who owned nothing but his mind, taught that true freedom lies in controlling what you can, your choices, your responses, your Yes and no. Saying no is more than a practical tool. It's a radical act of self-trust. In a world that rewards compliance and punishes dissent, it is a quiet rebellion, a declaration of sovereignty over your time, energy, and spirit. But it's also an act of deep wisdom, a recognition that your life is finite and every choice you make shapes the legacy you leave behind. When you say no, you create space for rest, for creativity, for the pursuits that light you up. You reclaim the ability to hear yourself again, your thoughts, your values, your truth. In a culture that bombards us with noise, notifications, expectations, demands, this space is revolutionary. It's where clarity is born, where you rediscover who you are and what you're here to do. The power of no goes beyond personal gain. It's a gift to others as well. When you say no to what doesn't serve you, you model authenticity. You show others that it's possible to live with intention, to prioritize what matters, to honor your own needs. You create a ripple effect, inspiring those around you to question their own misplaced yeses and seek their own clarity. A friend of mine, a single mother and small business owner, was once invited to join a prestigious networking group. The opportunity was tempting: connections, visibility, potential growth for her business. But the group met weekly, late in the evening, cutting into the precious time she spent with her daughter. She agonized over the decision, fearing that saying no would cost her professionally. But after reflection, she declined, choosing instead to protect her time with her child. Months later, she told me she felt lighter, more focused, and surprisingly, her business thrived anyway because she was able to pour her energy into what truly mattered. Her no wasn't just a boundary, it was a statement of her values, a commitment to the life she wanted to build. The journey to mastering no starts with awareness. It begins in the fleeting moment when you feel yourself about to agree out of habit, guilt, or fear. This is the moment of truth, the pivot point where you can choose differently. Here's a practical framework inspired by Stoic principles to guide you. First, pause and breathe. When faced with a request, whether it's a meeting, a favor, or an invitation, don't rush to answer. Take a moment to pause, breathe deeply. This simple act creates space between the stimulus, the request, and your response, allowing you to shift from reaction to reason. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent, the practice of examining your judgments before acting. Second, reflect on your values. Ask yourself, does this align with my purpose? Does it serve my goals, my health, my relationships? Or does it pull me away from them? Imagine the wisest version of yourself, the person you aspire to be. What would they choose in this moment? This reflection grounds you in your logos, your rational faculty, helping you make choices that reflect your highest self. Third, reframe the request. Consider the request objectively. Is it truly urgent, or is it someone else's priority? Are you saying yes out of reason or out of fear? Fear of disappointing, of missing out, of being judged? Epictetus reminds us that external events have no power over us. It's our judgments that create obligation. By reframing the request as neutral, you strip it of its emotional weight and reclaim your agency. Fourth, speak your truth. When you're ready to respond, do so with clarity and kindness. You don't need to over-explain or apologize. A simple, "Thank you for the opportunity, but I can't commit to this right now," is enough. If pressed, stand firm. I've made my decision, and I hope you understand. Your no doesn't need to be harsh, but it does need to be resolute. Let your word be your law. Fifth, honor the aftermath. Saying no can bring discomfort, guilt, doubt, or pushback from others. Acknowledge these feelings, but don't let them sway you. Reflect on why you said no and how it serves your purpose. Over time, you'll find that the discomfort fades, replaced by a growing sense of strength and clarity. This practice isn't about becoming inflexible or selfish. It's about choosing with intention. If you say yes, let it be because the choice resonates with your values. If you say no, let it be because you've weighed the cost and found it wanting. Either way, let your decision be deliberate, a reflection of your inner compass. What does saying no look like in practice? It's not about grand gestures or dramatic refusals. Often, it's the small, quiet choices that reshape your life. At work, you're asked to join a project that sounds impressive, but doesn't align with your career goals. Instead of agreeing, out of fear of missing out, you say, "I appreciate the offer, but I'm focusing on other priorities right now." This frees you to excel in the work that truly matters to you. In relationships, a friend repeatedly vents to you about the same problem, draining your energy. You say, "I care about you, but I need to set a boundary around these conversations." This preserves your well-being while encouraging them to seek other solutions. In daily life, you're invited to a social event that feels obligatory rather than joyful. You decline saying, "Thank you, but I'm going to pass this time." This gives you an evening to rest, read, or spend with those you love most. These aren't acts of rejection, they're acts of redirection. They are you steering your life toward what matters, your health, your purpose, your joy. Saying no comes with consequences. You may disappoint people you care about. You might miss opportunities others deem valuable. You might feel isolated, at least for a time. These are real costs, and it's important to acknowledge them. But consider the alternative: a life spent chasing approval, fulfilling others' expectations, and neglecting your own needs. Which cost is greater? The Stoics embraced discomfort as a teacher. Seneca practiced voluntary hardship to build resilience. Marcus Aurelius faced criticism and betrayal, yet remained steadfast in his principles. They understood that growth often requires sacrifice, that clarity comes at the price of courage. When you say no, you may lose the approval of some, but you gain something far more valuable: integrity, the alignment of your actions with your beliefs, the unshakable knowledge that you are living on your own terms. The world adjusts to your boundaries. People may be taken aback at first when you start saying no. Some may push back, testing your resolve. But those who truly value you will respect your clarity. They'll see your authenticity and be drawn to it. And those who only cherished your compliance, their departure is a gift, a clearing of space for relationships that honor the real you. Every no you speak is a refining fire. It burns away the false self, the people pleaser, the performer, the fearful conformist. What remains is someone grounded, someone whole, someone who knows their worth doesn't lie in how much they can endure, but in how deeply they can live. The impact of no extends beyond you. When you live with intention, you inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon of authenticity in a world of conformity. You show your children, your friends, your colleagues that it's possible to prioritize what matters, to say no without shame, to build a life that reflects your truth. This is the ripple effect of no, a quiet revolution that begins with you and touches everyone around you. Here's a challenge to help you harness the power of no in your own life. First, reflect. Take 10 minutes to journal about the last time you said yes when you wanted to say no. What drove your decision? Guilt? Fear? Habit? How did it feel afterward? What did it cost you? Second, identify. Make a list of current obligations that feel misaligned with your values. It could be a recurring meeting, a draining relationship, or a habit like checking social media compulsively. Be honest with yourself. Third, practice. This week, say no to one thing on that list. It doesn't have to be big, just deliberate. Use the framework: pause, reflect, reframe, speak, honor. Notice how it feels to choose yourself. Fourth, share. Tell someone you trust about your experience. Share this message with a friend who needs to reclaim their power. Accountability strengthens resolve. The Stoics didn't waste time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Let it also determine what you agree to. Your time is not infinite. Your energy is not boundless. Why spend either on what doesn't matter? We are not here to please everyone. We are not here to fill every gap or meet every expectation. We are here to live with depth, with purpose, with alignment to the best within us. Saying no is not a rejection of others. It is a redirection of your life toward what truly matters. It is you taking the helm, steering your ship toward the shore you've chosen. When you live this way, not just once, but as a practice, you'll feel it. That hidden power rising within you, quiet, firm, unshakable. It's the power of a life, lived deliberately, of choices made with clarity, of a soul in harmony with itself. That power was always there, waiting inside you, waiting for you to claim it, waiting for you to speak it into being with a single, courageous word, no. So today, say no, not out of spite, but out of intention. Not to wound, but to honor your life. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing alignment. You only owe yourself a life that reflects who you truly are. This is the Stoic way, a life of purpose, of boundaries, of quiet rebellion against a world that demands your compliance. It is a life where every choice, yes or no, is a step toward the person you were meant to become. Reflect on what you've been saying yes to that doesn't serve you. Commit to one small no this week and notice how it feels to choose yourself. Share this message with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Stay grounded in resilience, wisdom, and the courage to live deliberately.